My name is Katie and welcome to my video. As kind of a follow-up to my favorite nonfiction history books video that I posted last week, I thought maybe we would go over some of my favorite historical fiction books. These are mainly ones that I've read recently, I think all of them within the last year. I thought that would be an easier way to narrow down all of the great historical nonfiction that I have read. I have 6 books here that I would like to share, and hopefully one of them will spark your interest. The first 2 are both by Pam Jenoff. We have The Commandant's Girl and The Lost Girls of Paris. Of the 2, I think I preferred The Commandant's Girl because this just followed one point of view, whereas The Lost Girls of Paris followed 3, and it got a little bit messy in all the switching between viewpoints. The Commandant's Girl follows a Jewish woman called Emma, who has recently been married. Her husband, shortly after their marriage, has to go into hiding when the Nazis invade. Emma is sent to live with her husband's aunt, who helps her obtain new identity papers so she too can be safe from the Nazis. Emma, who is now called Anna through a series of events, ends up working for the Commandant, who is in charge of the town that she is living in. There is so much emotional conflict in this book, and it was written so well that I truly felt that I could feel the struggle that Emma was going through. If you love historical fiction set around World War II, I really think you should consider picking this one up. The Lost Girls of Paris begins when one of our points of view, Grace, finds a suitcase containing photographs of women. The suitcase in question belongs to another point of view character called Eleanor, whose job is to manage a ring of female spies that were sent to France during World War II. Our third point of view is Marie, who is one of those spies. This book has an element of mystery to it as Grace works to figure out the significance of the photographs of the women that she finds in the suitcase. My reading experience with this book was quite enjoyable, but as I said, I think I preferred The Commandant's Girl a little bit more. The next 2 books on my list are both by Kate Morton. We have The Clockmaker's Daughter and The Forgotten Garden. I'm not entirely certain that I could pick a favorite between these 2 because they both combine historical fiction with mystery, and I really think that Kate Morton is a master at this. The Clockmaker's Daughter follows 2 different timelines, one in modern day and one in the past. In the modern day, we are following Elodie, who is an archivist in London, and she finds these mysterious items that she begins to investigate. Our timeline in the past takes place in 1862 when a man named Edward takes some of his artist friends to go spend the summer in Birchwood Manor. During this summer, a woman is killed and an heirloom goes missing. Now, despite this being a fairly long book, I was able to continually keep turning the pages because the element of mystery really did have me hooked. The Forgotten Garden is written in a similar way with multiple time periods. It centers on a book of fairy tales that is written by a Victorian author who suddenly disappears. Our present-day main character, Cassandra, found this book in a suitcase in her grandmother's house when she was a child, and she fell in love with it. After her grandmother dies, she learns that her grandmother's origins are not as clear as they may have seemed, and she sets off to find the truth. The other characters whose points of view we get are Cassandra's grandmother, Nell, and the author of the book, Eliza. I could not get enough of this book. The world that Morton creates in here is truly stunning, and I did not want the book to end. Next up on the list is The Age of Light by Whitney Scharer. This book follows the life of the fabulous Lee Miller, who was a model for Vogue, then became the muse of the famous surrealist Man Ray, and then finally a photographer in her own right. It took me quite a while to realize that Lee Miller was a real person, and once I did, I spent probably a couple of hours researching her to find out more. She led an incredible life, and I highly recommend you do some research on her, whether you want to read the book or not. If you do look her up, be sure to find the picture of her in Hitler's bathtub. The final book on the list might be my favorite of them all, and that is The Life She Was Given by Ellen Marie Wiseman. This book took me through an intense series of emotions, and once it was over, I needed to take a few minutes to myself to recover. This book begins in 1931 when Lily, who has never been allowed to leave her parents' attic, is sold to the Barlow Brothers circus. While this is initially a nightmare for her, she begins to make a family there with the people and especially the elephants. We also follow Julia, who 2 decades later has inherited the house in which Lily was born. Through Julia's investigations, we come to find out what happened to Lily. If you like books that have a circus element and are emotional, then you may like this one. If you prefer your books to have more of a happy ending, then I would perhaps recommend picking up one of the Pam Jenoff titles instead. So those are some of the best historical fiction books that I have read this year. If you have read any of these titles, or would like to read any of these titles, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any book recommendations for me, I would love to hear them. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon.